Hey everybody, this is Mike Wolf and welcome to the Spoon Podcast. Today we have a conversation with Ari Tulla of Elo Health, a personalized nutrition and supplement platform that has all sorts of interesting services that they are evolving using AI. Ari will be at the Food AI Summit in just a week, and so I thought I would catch up with them and hear what he's doing. They also had some news this week in that they're partnering with Nourished, which many of you may know as a maker of these personalized supplements that come in the form of a 3D printed gummy. And these two companies have partnered up and are producing gummies using the AI platform, the AI-driven platform by Elo. So we talk about that. We talk about Ari's evolution from a mobile game executive into personalized nutrition and lots of other interesting things. So I hope you enjoy this podcast. If you want to meet Ari in person, join us next week at the Food AI Summit in Alameda. Go to foodsummit.ai, use the discount code podcast for 25% off tickets. All right, let's get to our conversation. I'm excited to be here today with Ari Tulla, who is the CEO of Elo Health. Hey, Ari, how are you doing?
Hey, Mike, I'm doing great. Thank you.
And I'm excited to see you in a couple of weeks in person down in Alameda. You will be speaking at the Food AI Summit. But before that, we're going to have a little podcast here and dive into a little bit about what's going on in personalized nutrition, how AI is impacting what you do and what the business you're involved in is, and then also talk a little bit about a new partnership you guys have. So we'll dive into all that. But before we get into that, why don't you introduce yourself? You're kind of a guy who's been a serial entrepreneur, from what I can tell. You had a company called Better Doctor. I think back in the 2000s, you were doing mobile games for Nokia. So how did a guy doing gaming on phones end up in personalized nutrition?
Hey, that's a good question, and I could maybe spend an hour on that. Let's condense a bit. So yeah, I'm from Finland originally, so I got into the tech very early in my youth. I got a first computer in the 80s. Started to dabble in the internet in mid 90s. Was very lucky to be able to get early access there. That led me into video games and building websites and things like that in my early days. And in 2008, I had a chance to come to the US with Nokia, and that was right in the time when iPhone came out, and I was working on building the first mobile games, and that was the very beginning of the whole era. And if you think about today, mobile games are around $100 billion market globally. And when we started to make them, there were a few people and a few companies, and nobody was making any money. So it's really interesting to see kind of the mobile revolution up close and personal. And then later, I decided to hop into healthcare. And 2011, I started my first healthcare company, Better Doctor. And that was all about helping people find doctors.
And that was something that you decided to move into an adjacency that you had no experience in? Was it something you were passionate about? What drove you in that direction?
Yeah, I mean, I'm like many other health entrepreneurs where I had a personal reason, almost a vendetta to do something about it. So long time earlier in early 2000s, my wife had a thyroid tumor that led into operation table and later into autoimmune diseases, and a verdict that we can never have a family. And that was a big deal. You found a love of your life, and then you end up into this pickle that you don't know what to do about. And it took us about a decade to find a way to help her body heal itself by we went to the Western medicine, Eastern medicine, but in the end we found out that diet and nutrition was able to help her put the condition in check, and we were able to get her out of medication, and then we had to go IVF route, and unfortunately lost our first son. Today we have 2 kids today, so all good in the end.
Wow.
But at that moment I decided to completely do a U-turn in my life, and we created a small family office to invest in startups in healthcare, and I also started a healthcare company. My wife also went from being a corporate dweller into becoming in the end a KonMari consultant working with Marie Kondo.
You started Better Doctor, which I think you kind of described as a search engine for doctors. And then you even went further down the path as the technology got better and you were able to do personalized nutrition to create Elo Health. Was that something when you kind of started to think about Elo Health, like, hey, maybe the technology's here to do something really interesting and kind of fundamentally change, not the ones I saw at all, but create a personalized nutrition type of startup?
Yeah, I think for me, I really became a believer in food as medicine because food helped my wife, and of course I went along for the 15-year ride. So I was also eating the same diet, and I became healthier and healthier and higher performant. So I really understood that food is the culprit of our health in many ways. So I was a believer, and already in the early 2000s, maybe 2010, when we were thinking about what company we want to found with my co-founders, we decided to look at the idea of, can we help people find doctors? That felt very meaningful for me because we had a problem finding our doctor, and that was the kind of catalyst for me. But we also were thinking about an idea of a company called social food. And we had a whole tech built into it, and luckily nobody was funding it. It was a bit too early. The company idea was simple. You take a smartphone, and you point it into a product in the store, and you get traffic lights, red, yellow, green, depending if that food will be good for you. And a few companies built that product later. None of them became really big. So I think we made a right decision when we decided to work first on the doctor finding problem. And it took me 10 years to get that into the end line. And we sold the company in the end, and then I was running a much bigger company for 2 years. And then I felt that the time was right to focus on the nutrition, because like you well know, we have had a huge leap of evolution happening in our ability to track the biomarkers from blood, urine, stool. We can also collect now data in real time from our wrist and rings and so forth, like Oura Ring and the Apple Watch. And we have glucose monitors. So there's a lot more understanding. And also at the same time, what happened is that food delivery, it really became something that most Americans have been now trying at least once. And, think about a decade ago, very few people were ordering food online.
Yeah. If you look at what the Elo Health product set is, you guys have supplements, but also powders. What are you guys creating for people to help them with their health?
Yeah, so we started from this idea that food is medicine, and we were looking at the market very closely for quite a while, and we decided that it would be too difficult to build a system where we take people's biometric data and then we are delivering food. The food felt like a really complicated matter because if you are doing it nationwide, you need to partner with multiple players locally, or you need to build like a very robust distribution logistic network.
Yeah.
And instead of doing that in the beginning, we decided to focus on a narrow area of supplementation, where we can do a blood test, we can take data from you, and then we can give you a product for a certain time, and we can test you again, and we can validate the outcomes. And the idea really in the beginning was to build the system, validate that we can do this, and then go beyond the first product. So the second one we launched early this year, was a Smart Protein, which is basically a blend of protein, carbs, electrolytes, and supplements in a personalized product that is optimized based on your activities. So if you do a workout, we take all the workout data if you so want, and we can blend the right blend every month by hand and send it to you. And after every workout, we send you notification on how much you need the product and when do you need the product. So we built a daily feedback loop. I think we're the first company in the world to do that. And also in the last 2 years, we learned a lot about what is good and what is bad in our supplement product. And in the last year and a half, we've been now rebuilding from ground up. And we are going to market right today with the new product that I think is much better and more simplified. And a product that I think is good for not maybe 50,000 people, but for millions of people.
We'll get into that product, but kind of going to like the startup of how people get on the program. The way it was done, I think this is evolving for you, is they would do a home blood test. And it's one of those kind of prick your fingers and put it dried, kind of a dried blood test, right? It's not like they're withdrawing a bunch of blood. So talk about how that worked and then maybe how you guys are evolving.
Yeah, so if you think about healthcare today, we have a lot of data. I mean,
Yeah.
many of us have steps, and we have HRV. We might have weight data if you have a online scale. You might have blood pressure and so forth. But if you talk to any doctor today, the gold standard is always a blood test. When you go to your doctor's office, they're gonna take your blood pressure, they're gonna take your weight, and then often you get blood work done. You're gonna get your lipid panel, A1C, and maybe CRP and a few other ones. That's the normal procedure. And when we talk to doctors, they won't take us seriously if we don't have information from these biomarkers. So we decided to start from there and build a panel that is quite comprehensive. So we do lipid panel, A1C, vitamin D, vitamin B, iron, and also we look at homocysteine for inflammation. And that's a really good viewpoint of person's health.
And that's all from a few drops of blood, right?
That is all from about 4 drops of blood. So we use the dry blood because you can also collect wet blood in a vial. Some people might have done that, but the problem with the wet blood is that you have to get it to the lab within 48 hours. And if you dry the blood, then you have a bit more time to deliver it to the lab. And from the perspective of accuracy, both are becoming about equal now. And I think the home blood testing has been evolving a lot. Even in the last 3 years, we've been doing it. And the accuracy now compared to venipuncture is almost identical.
And, just real quick on that, I mean, going back to like the early days of Theranos, I think it was 20 years ago. And, this is a much different world than what they were promising. Yeah, like the technology's come so far that you kind of achieved what they wanted to do, but with even dried blood testing.
Yes, I think, the funny thing is that if you go look at our lab today, and we partner with labs that are, of course, CLIA certified, very established players in the market. And the way how they do the testing today, it actually it's not that different than when you go to your lab at your hospital and get your blood drawn. The same type of machines are used to analyze the blood. And I think what Theranos was doing that was, I think, silly. And we all seen the documentary. We all heard the podcast, which is a great learning if you haven't.
Yes.
But the problem they had was that they were taking 2 drops of blood and they were trying to test too many things from that sample because you have to dilute the sample, and they were diluting it beyond what the devices are capable of. And they were trying to build a device that you can put in a counter or at home or at the CVS and actually do all the testing in there. But they were not really reinventing the way to test. It was like building a mini lab or micro lab within a machine. And that is something nobody has yet to be able to do. Yeah. But what's happening today, and this is something that we don't do at Elo today because they are not yet FDA approved, but there are many interesting innovations happening in the blood testing side where we are building chips that could basically live at home and could test multiple blood test from the 1 drop of blood at home and a convenience. That's happening very soon. And other way that people are doing it now is to use things like magnetic resonance, for example, to test 1 sample and get 100 biomarkers. Those are both coming, I think, in the next 5 years, and they will dramatically change the way we're going to collect blood. Still today, you have to prick a finger, you have to get few drops out, you have to send it to lab. It is easy, but it is not as easy as it can be in the future.
So you get that original panel, you get an idea of what my health looks like with, cholesterol and all these vitamin D. And then you would deliver a formulation tailored around what is kind of my personal makeup. And then like you monitor that with my Apple Watch as I work out, and I can maybe you could tell me how many supplements to take. Kind of walk me through what happens after the blood test.
Yeah, so together with the blood test, we go through pretty detailed health questionnaire, not that different than you have in your doctor's office when you go to a new doctor. And then we also, if you want, you can connect your Apple Health into Elo. And Apple Health is this beautiful gateway that can connect to your activity data, sleep data, recovery data, and many, many different things today. So many people have actually connected a lot more than just Apple Watch. They have connected their weight. They have connected, even like blood pressure and stuff like that. So we get a pretty good view of the person's health. And then, of course, we also want to know your goals. And based on that, we have built an AI model that is taking all the data and then building the customized blend for you. And then what we have done, we have about 100 different pills today that we pick you the ideal formulation for any given month. And we take into account a few things that I think are kind of cool. We are looking at your medication, for example. We are looking at your conditions that you might have from the health perspective. Many people don't know, but there are supplements today that are interfering with the common prescription medications. So we take that into account. We never give you the supplements that are interfering, for example. When you live in a northern hemisphere, northern US, for example, we're going to give you more vitamin D when you enter kind of the darker period. So we do all that automation automatically by our AI. And every month you get a new packet of pills, and we automatically modify it based on what your needs are. And then we test you again at the 3-month mark or 6-month mark to see what the outcomes are. And it's really cool that we've been able to see 80% of people have improvement on these biomarkers within the month 6. So that was a validation that we took from the early testing of the blood testing to supplementation. And now what we've been doing, we've been evolving our AI model to take into account that data. And now we can predict based on a questionnaire what you need.
That AI, I imagine, has evolved and gotten better over time, right? Like when you first started, you had a lot of data, and then you started to kind of look at how things are changing. And then as a reflection of that, then the service is just getting better.
Exactly. And I think, the beginning, if you think about we don't need to dwell in too deep on the AI, but to simplify, what we did in the beginning, that we took all the different research today done to humans in the world related to nutrition. So about 6,000 or so clinical trials. We took that data, and that is giving you the idea, or the AI an idea, how much you need of what because of certain things you have. So we have over 150 assessments today that are related to the research papers that are defining what type of products you need, what type of nutrients you need, at what dose. And we even now make that available on the app, that you can actually see the research papers, that you can read them on the app that are related to you and related to your plan that you get any given month. So that transparency was really interesting to get live. And then what we have done now, we are adding layers on top of this. So we have dietitians in the team who are approving and modifying every plan we give every month to our members. And that learning data from the dietitians has now gone into the model as well. So it makes the model better. And now we are adding the last layer. Well, there are maybe many more in the future, but in our initial plan, we had the third layer, that is the learning data of the outcomes. So we are now creating new science based on the outcomes. Maybe some of the studies that we have in our core model were not actually accurate. Maybe we couldn't replicate the scientific study done to 30 people in Minnesota. And we see that that's not applicable. So we make the studies that seem to work more valuable, and we are fine-tuning the model from that perspective.
And you guys have, as you alluded to earlier, an announcement today. You're working with a company called Nourished, and talk about what you guys are doing together.
Yeah, so I think I already talked about the biomarker testing, and I think the biggest challenge with the testing is that it's pretty expensive to do it. It can cost up to $150 one time when you do the testing, because you have to send the things back and forth, you have to test them and all these things. There has to be a doctor involved every time. And also the pain for people to do it every quarter. We have some people who love that. They're like, I love this, I would never go away. We have other people who say, it's fine if I test once a year, or I can test the blood whenever I need. So there's a lot of people out there who love to take, supplements. They believe in supplements. They want to have more personalized product, but they are not willing to do the finger prick or pay enough to do the finger prick all the time. And then we also realized that we have a lot of people who are loving the fact that we have these convenient daily packets with your name on that modify automatically every month. People love the idea. But many people, including many people in the team, have said that, well, I don't love taking 6 pills. I never really was a big pill swallower before. Can I have a better modality? So, of course, we built the protein that, can supplement some of the vitamins and minerals as well. But really what we were doing for last year and a half, we've been trying to find and build a better product for delivering the nutrients to people. And that's where we came into the partnership with Nourished. So Nourished is a company in UK who have developed this just unbelievably good modality of 3D printing gummy vitamins. And we've been now working with them to formulate the ideal formulation based on the Elo AI and send the Nourished made product now to people on a monthly basis or quarterly basis. And it's fully personalized for you, made to order. And what they do that is so crazy is that they can do 7 pills in a one gummy. 7 layers equals 7 pills. and we've been able to work with them to dose them appropriately. So we actually have the same outcomes as the pills. And to validate that, we did a study last year where we took people with vitamin D deficiency. We took a cohort of pills and a cohort of gummies, and we tested them side by side, and we saw the same outcomes.
How did you guys get to that point where you started working with them and were taking the supplements and getting it to inject into like a 3D printed gummy? It sounds like that was like a long process, over a year or so.
Yeah, it took a year and a half for us to get this. I think the first meeting happened almost 2 years ago, and I think I might have actually met or got first hint about Nourished in your event in New York. So that's
our
so funny.
Personalized. Yeah. That's great.
So you are a real connector. But my when I saw it first time, I fell in love with the idea, and I think what Melissa and her team has done at Nourished is just unbelievable. And there's no other company in the world who can do what they do. And we are really happy to partner with them and work very closely. And it's been a really fruitful partnership to date. And I think I can't wait to see this in millions of people's hands.
And are they also selling to consumers? And this is kind of a different line of their business. They're just using their technology to provide you with supplements.
Yeah. So Nourished is I don't think they have done what we do with them with anyone else. They are selling their own brand under Nourished. They are actively selling in UK, in Europe, and also in Japan now. And they've been in the US market for some time. And we of course hope that this will really expand this new modality in the US market far beyond what they have done before.
And so now, if I go to Elo Health and I want to get kind of a personalized supplement plan, I still will do that initial panel, and I can choose whether or not I want going forward to get a 3D printed gummy vitamin or separate pills. Are you going to leave the choice to consumers?
Yeah, so with the gummies right today, we are now first time enabling people to get to elo.health, and they can actually now do a detailed questionnaire, and they can buy the gummy without doing the blood test. Like I said, we have been able to take the learning from the last 2.5 years and thousands of people who went through the funnel, and we've been optimizing the questionnaire to get very close to the same where we can get with a panel. And of course, if people want, once they get going, they can always go to the Elo app and they can click a button and they can just get the panel to their home, and they can order those whenever they want. So that was the feedback we got from a lot of people, and we heard it loud and clear, and we modified the system to be more flexible. People can also buy supplement pills, they can also buy smart protein, and I think in a moment people can also buy separate blood testing if they won't only do that part. So Elo is becoming a portfolio of products, not just one.
Talk about incorporating wearable data and how that impacts what you're advising people to do on a daily basis, what you're advising them to do from a supplement mix. Is this something that really does add another dimension and kind of creates better results for people?
I think the wearable data is something that is, like I said, it's been evolving dramatically fast. So we have now millions of people, maybe half Americans today, who have some type of wearable device or tracker. And I think in 10 years from today, we're all going to have a glucose monitor. We're going to have a blood pressure monitor real time. So that world will look wonderful, I think. But today, people have different devices. So the data flowing in, it can vary a lot. Some people get the steps. Some people are getting, 15 different data points every day. And not every day only, but every minute of the day. So a lot of data. My data file is 4 gigabytes today that I have in Apple Health. So it's a huge amount of data. Every heartbeat, from last decade is recorded in Apple Health for me. So how do we use that data to make the system better? That is really one element that we've been working a lot that I haven't mentioned yet. So as part of the Elo program, you always get access to the Elo app. Elo app is only available today on iPhone because we believe that the Apple Health connection is a unique ability to create better outcomes. So when you do the connection, you also get access to a dietitian that you can talk to in the app. So you can ask a question, you can have a conversation, you can get feedback. And we are now starting to build more and more these automatic programs and educational systems where we have some data coming from your body, we can then guide you to change behavior. We can tell you what it means. So we're in the beginning of that, And of course, now with the prevalence of the new large language models and ChatGPT and others, we are of course looking at building more of an AI coaching platform as well. But we believe in human beings, and every plan today that we are shipping to people has been viewed by a real dietitian, because we believe that learning data has to be done, and you can't take shortcuts. It will take time to become perfect at AI.
But walk us through what that AI-driven coaching looks like. I mean, it sounds like something that's kind of on your roadmap. It does seem like that is the direction to a certain extent of more democratized telehealth. When is that coming? I mean, what does that look like?
I think, I have a unique viewpoint in the perspective that I spent 10 years working on the access to care. So I built the Better Doctor. Then I was running Quest Analytics, that is the platform that every health plan, health system uses when they hire doctors or build doctor networks. So I have a really good viewpoint into the problem that we have today. We just don't have enough doctors. We don't have enough caregivers. We have a shortage of millions of people if we would need to do coaching or do one-on-one communication. With the doctor, you have about 30 minutes a year. That's it. So you can't do a lot of coaching in a 30-minute time frame. And how much you need to really help somebody. Think about what works. Personal trainer. Many people have one, and they work in two ways. They are motivating you to go to a place to do the exercise, and then they are guiding you to do it right. That's hugely powerful, very expensive, and only available for few. And now we are seeing the plethora of companies building AI-based or one-to-many type of personal trainer. So think about the coaching for nutrition will be like the same, where we're going to see this one-to-many approach, where we have more like one person can do webinars, can talk to a lot of people. You're going to have this, what we have already done for two or more years, where you have a chat, where you can ask a question, and it's asynchronous. So the problem is that we always have a latency for somebody to respond. Even if you are really good at it, it will take maybe 10 minutes for you to get the response. And when you have a question about nutrition, you want to get the response right then and there. And that's what the AI can provide. It can provide a dialogue that happens right then. And my feedback to our team and people who ask me about this topic is always that people say that, well, people are not that actively talking or chatting or using these systems. Well, the problem is the latency. If you make the dialogue real time with an AI chatbot, I think people will use it 100 times more than they use a system where you have to wait to get the response. So once we get this live, they are going to be used a lot, and people really do like them. But the question you have, of course, is that, okay, how do we make them not hallucinate? How do we make them real? How do we teach them in a way that they know the real science? Because if you let them learn about the web today, web is basically crowded with wrong data about nutrition. It's all half the stuff is fake news likely, and with agenda. So how do we make it right? And that is a question that it's not going to be easy. We need to build new models that are going to take maybe billions of dollars to build, and they need to have doctors, dietitians, experts guiding them through. So there are a few companies who are building now models in healthcare. None of them are available yet in scale, but I think in 2 years' time we're going to see the first models that are going to be really good. Meanwhile, I think companies like Elo are going to be testing models that are going to be still in alpha mode or beta mode that we couldn't take into the hospital setting, but we can probably take them for the people like you and me who just want to know more.
Yeah, I think that first layer of AI-driven bot-oriented coach or doctor, I think just has to be obviously trained on the right data. You have to have the right guardrails and kind of the progression from like a bot to like a real person, that handoff, you have to build in the intelligence to know when that has to happen, because it's probably one of these, Pareto rules type of thing. 80 to 90% of the interactions will be fine with just a bot. But it's that 10 to 20% where, you want to hand off to like a personal coach to get the right answers in certain situations.
I agree 100%. And keep in mind, when we started to do the blood testing, I mean, I was new to the blood testing market. I had never done it before. from operation perspective. And I was surprised that, when we started it, we actually had to build a system where if you are getting an off value, way too high, way too low value, we need to be able to refer you to a real doctor to talk about it. So that had to be done. And, these are the things that you need to do in healthcare. You need to kind of do the right thing. And sometimes they are really difficult logistically or operationally. But, we had to do that in a proper way. And same will apply here. I think even if you do AI, you need to have ability to escalate the dialogue into a real person who can really help. Because otherwise, we are not doing something that can actually be trustworthy. And we can do something that could harm people in the end.
I feel like the way out of the healthcare morass in the U.S. is probably going to be through things like AI, because it's just so expensive to go see a real doctor. There's so many layers. And if we could get that kind of first point of contact through like some sort of bot that actually can do some diagnosis, combining some data around wearable data and kind of get a better understanding of what's happening with people, and they maybe get them some answers. I mean, that's such a different place from where we are today. I mean, obviously we got to get the technology right, but it just seems like this is the direction we're going to have to go.
I think you're right. And I think one aspect that people often forget is that I think everybody are reading the Elon Musk book that came out a few weeks ago. But I think it's a really good analog if you think about Tesla. And Tesla is not a great electric car. It's just a better car than in any other car before. So that's what you have to do to change behavior. And if you think about the healthcare problems we have today, people are, half the population is obese, 80% are getting overweight. We have life expectancy declining dramatically only in the US. So things are really not looking great. And what we have to do is to change behavior. We can't just, throw another pill. And I'm all for the ideas like the GLP-1, the new weight loss drugs. They are amazing. They're going to help a lot. But we can't expect to have one more pill again to save the day. We have to focus on changing behavior. And companies like Elo, I think, are trying to make the system better, easier. And it can't be, 2 times better. It has to be 10 times better. And that's why I'm so excited about the new product, like getting the smart gummies out that are just a much better modality that is tasting great, looking great, is exciting. And that is the uniqueness I think we have to do more. We can't give another PDF to people. And even like a chatbot, it doesn't really matter if there's no outcome, focused discussion, or there are no products delivered to people. I think that delivering the product to people's homes in a convenient manner is going to be really good, because then people will consume the product and get better.
Well, Ari, this has been great hearing about how you built your company and kind of where we are in the state of personalized nutrition. Where can people find out more about Elo Health?
Everybody can go to the elo.health. Elo.health is the website, and you can buy gummies, you can buy pills, you can buy smart protein, and in a moment you can also buy blood testing. And I would love to get feedback if you want to try. Great.
And I apologize for saying Elo Health. It's Elo Health, and that website is elo.health, correct?
Correct. And we named it Elo because that means life in my native Finnish, and it felt like a really appropriate name for a company focusing on helping people.
All right. Well, thanks a lot for taking time with us today.
Hey, thank you so much.
All right. I hope you learned as much as I did hearing about Ari's journey into personalized nutrition and health. That was a great conversation. I can't wait to hear from him next week. Like I said, if you want to join us, go to foodsummit.ai and buy your ticket. Use the discount code podcast for 25% off. All right, folks. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you soon.